my name is Abbey Blinkhorn, and I'm a fourth-year Communications and Media Studies student at the University of Calgary. And this summer, I completed a pure research project under the supervision of Dr. Mehdi Morali from the Haskayne School of Business. My project is titled The Impact of Brand Silence, Exploring Canadian Consumer Reactions to Brands Staying Silent During Sociopolitical Issues. Today, many brands face increasing pressure to respond to social and political issues. While some companies do speak out, others choose to stay silent to avoid controversy. This led to my research question of how do Canadian consumers perceive brands that remain silent during significant political or social issues, and how does this influence their trust, purchase intentions, and perceptions of authenticity? I developed three main hypotheses for this project. First, I predicted that brand trust would be lower when a company stayed silent compared to when it took a stance. Second, I expected purchase intentions to drop when a brand stance conflicted with a consumer's political orientation. Third, I predicted that silence would be perceived as less authentic than taking either stance. This project builds on already existing research on brand activism defined by Sakar and Coulter as business efforts to promote or resist social, political, or environmental reform to improve society. With the rise of social media, activism has become a central but polarizing marketing strategy, and companies like Ben & Jerry's, for example, have taken strong public stances, such as halting their sales in Israeli-occupied territories in protest of the Gaza conflict. Other studies have also shown that morality and authenticity matter more to consumers than competence. People evaluate brands much like they evaluate individuals, based on sincerity and ethics. For this project, I used a between-subjects experimental survey design to compare consumer reactions. Participants were randomly assigned to one of three conditions: a supportive, an oppositional, or a silent response to a controversial issue. The issue was parental consent policies in Canadian schools that required parental approval before teachers could discuss topics related to gender identity. After giving informed consent, participants were shown background information on this hypothetical technology company and their response to the recent adoption of parental notification. Then participants completed a series of validated survey measures. Ethics approval for this project was granted by the University of Calgary Conjoint Faculties Research Ethics Board. Participants were recruited through Prolific and were compensated according to Prolific's fair payment guidelines. A total of 350 Canadian adults aged 18 to 75 were surveyed, but we used a total of 333 responses. The gender distribution was relatively balanced, with about 49% male and 49% female. All of the scales used to measure political orientation, brand trust, purchase intentions, authenticity, morality, and appeal were from 7-point scales that were validated, and many of them were from strongly disagree to strongly agree. This table breaks down the descriptive statistics of this study, and the sample leaned slightly liberal overall. So using one-way ANOVAs, it showed no significant differences with brand trust in outcome variables versus groups. However, purchase intentions were highest when the brand stayed silent and lowest when it showed support. Authenticity and morality were rated lowest in the silent condition, which suggests that while silence might protect purchase intentions, it can hurt perceptions of sincerity. Next, we completed a two-way ANOVA, which revealed that political orientation changed these effects. So among conservative voters, trust was higher for both the supportive and silent conditions and dropped when the brand opposed the policy. For progressive voters, trust was highest when the brand opposed the policy, lowest when it showed support, and moderate when it stayed silent. Silence acted as a middle ground that preserved trust for conservative voters, but didn't inspire progressives. As far as purchase intentions goes, conservative voters again favored support and silence equally, but rejected opposition. Progressive voters showed the opposite pattern, preferring oppositional stances most, supportive ones least, and silence was in the middle. This means that silence often avoided backlash, but didn't strongly engage either side. In terms of authenticity, conservative voters viewed support as the most authentic, silence was in the middle, and opposition was taken as the least authentic. Progressive voters, however, judged silence as the least authentic option across the board and rated both stance-taking options as higher authenticity. This shows that silence may help avoid controversy, but it does come across as less genuine, especially among progressive voters. So overall, these findings suggest that brand silence still remains a risky communication strategy. It can protect short-term trust and purchase intentions, particularly among conservative voting consumers, but it does reduce perceived authenticity and morality, especially for progressive voters. This study did focus on one socio-political issue, so future research could explore other contexts like climate change or racial injustice. I'd like to thank my supervisor, Dr. Mehdi Morali, for his incredible mentorship and guidance throughout this project, as well as the PURE program for supporting undergraduate research. I'm also really grateful to all my friends and family for their constant encouragement and support this past summer. Here are some of the key references that inform my work. Thank you very much for watching.